They say of the Acropolis, where the Parthenon is, that... Well, never mind. Welcome to Order In! Today we're making pitas and stuff. A local late-night eatery here in Tempe calls this a chicken kebab. I have absolutely no idea why, so I'm not inclined to continue the tradition. Here's how I make it. Believe it or not, this dough is actually easier than the pretzels. We begin with 1 cup of warm but not too warm water. Yet another packet of active dry yeast. And in a change of procedure, 1 cup of flour. Gonna go ahead and get this mixed up, and we're gonna look for the exact same things that we were looking for in the pretzels. Kind of a frothy head after about 10 or 15 minutes.
Head.
When your goo looks like this, we're gonna begin phase 2. This is going to include the addition of some honey, some olive oil, some salt, not photographed, and some flour. Now the dough is probably going to take about 2 cups of flour in total, but we only want to add about 1.25 cups to 1.5 cups at first. This is going to make it a lot easier to bring the dough together, and it's a hell of a lot easier to add flour to dough than to take it out. At first, mix this together in the bowl with some sort of utensil until it becomes hard to work with, and then get it turned out onto a nice, clean, floured work surface, and begin the kneading. Now luckily, this dough doesn't require as much kneading as the pretzels did, so you're only looking for about 5 or 6 minutes of squishing this into your counter. You're going to want to introduce as much flour as is necessary to keep it from sticking to everything. You'll know how much you need to use. Once you can't get it off your hand, put on a little bit more flour. When you're done, get it tossed back into your nice clean bowl with a bit of oil and cover it in some cling film. Stash it away in a nice warm place for about 2 hours or until the dough doubles. While that's rising, this would be a good time to marinate some chicken. So we're going to get some yogurt and the juice of some lemons into a bowl, as well as a secret spice mix. I have no idea why I call it that, because the ingredients are to your right and in the written description. So get it all into a nice bowl and blend thoroughly.
I know how this works, but I can't do it right now.
What? Whisk?
And then we want to get the chicken into the bowl. I'm using chicken tenderloins again because they were on sale and I didn't have to cut them. Makes things easier. To go along with the chicken, we're going to have to make up some peppers and some onions.
Mincing peppers and onions. I do it the lazy way. Watch.
This is basically my go-to method when I have to chop down a whole shit ton of peppers and onions all at once. It's kind of important that you get this done the exact way you're seeing on the screen, with all the peppers kind of mushed up and lined up into one little column. That way, when you press it through the blade, you get nothing but delicious little slices. Onions are processed in a similar way. Basically, we want to top and tail them and get the skins off. And when we put them into the food processor, we want to put them kind of top or bottom, up and down. That way, when they process, they turn too into nice, tasty little slices. Now, I also want to make up a nice, quick little yogurt sauce to go along with these. So we're going to take our same spice mix as in the marinade and mix in the juice of about 3 limes and some yogurt. As is traditional in episodes of Order In, here's your gratuitous shot of ugly-looking food that will eventually be tasty. Get that mixed up thoroughly and chill it in the fridge for about 1/2 hour to let the flavors set up.
Do the dough!
By this point, it should be about 2 hours later, and your dough should have risen to about twice its normal size. Get that out onto a nice, clean, floured surface, and get it cut up into pieces. Just like the pretzels, we really don't care how large the pieces are. Some pitas being smaller than others is a good thing. Just like the pretzels, we're going to take those individual pieces and roll them up into rounds and cover them up in a little cling film until they're ready to be fried. Speaking of fry, we're going to get our large cast iron skillet over medium-high heat and roll out our dough. We're shooting for about 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch thick. Yes, I am still using my PVC pipe, you haters. If you'd like we eventually did, before you get them rolled out, you can smush in a little bit of roasted garlic to take them to a whole new level.
Everybody's working for the weekend. And pita bread.
Cooking the pita bread is actually pretty dead simple. We're going to take our nicely warmed pan and add some peanut oil. I guess you could use technically any high heat oil, but this is what I keep on stock. And get that rubbed around. We only need a very thin coating to prevent these from sticking. Any more and you'll actually kind of be frying them, and that's not what we're looking to do. First time I did this, I was scared shitless that the pan would actually stick to the dough, but it turned out to be fine. After about 10 seconds, it should free up and you can give it a flip. If you flip it a couple of times, like 5 or 6, you'll get a nice big poof in the middle and it'll be more like a traditional pita bread. If you actually kind of let it sit there and cook entirely on one side and then flip it, leaving it for maybe about a minute, you'll end up with something kind of closer to naan bread, which is actually what I prefer, so you can kind of make a judgment call and do whatever you like. After about 15 minutes, you're going to be rolling in fat stacks of delicious. Keep these nice and warm, wrapped up in some tin foil while you finish up the peppers and onions. These are cooked up pretty much the same way they are in every other episode. We're going to get some fat into a pan, toss in some peppers and onions and salt, and keep stirring them around until they look something like this. Chicken's done in just about the same way. Add a little bit of extra oil into the pan and get each strip tossed in. You want to kind of smush off as much of the marinade as you can. That kind of stuff doesn't like to be cooked down. It'll kind of blacken at the bottom of your pan. So kind of squeegee them off against the other chicken before you get it in, and you'll be good to go. Construction is just as easy as the rest of this recipe. Lay down some pita bread, some chopped up chicken, delicious peppers and onions, and roll up like this. You have to wrap it like this or else it's just not going to be quite as appealing looking. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a goddamn delicious meal. There was a little outro planned and partially recorded, but my phone ran out of memory about a quarter of the way through it and just died, so you'll have to deal with this gratuitous food porn. Why order out when you can hang out and order in? Thanks for watching.